still exists. It's a publicly traded company. It's an aerospace and marine equipment company. And then this Brage, that's for Nick Brajevic. This is one of his oil pans. And then,
It's like the high performance Crosley engine, right?
and this is a big single carburetor intake. Some light through there. Something you can see some white down through there. And shoot down through there.
Okay.
Let's get that thing
Yeah,
lined
right
up.
there.
Now, see how big that one is?
Yep.
Okay. Now, I got a stock with you. That's a modified one. That's still not big enough. For the right amount of air to make the right amount of
No.
horsepower, but that one's enlarged. That's what it is from the stock.
Okay, big difference.
And that one's even bigger. So this would be like having a 390 CFM 4-barrel, and this one would be like having a 500 CFM 4-barrel, which was basically what the carburetors for the stock 4-barrel automobiles in the 60s were generally about that size, and this is like having a 750 or an 800. And that's solidly 55, 60 horsepower worth of carburetor.
Oh, really?
But this is from the early Jeep engine, the Continental engine. It's the same series carburetor. Just put the larger throttle plate on it and then jetted it accordingly.
Yeah, it's a beautiful engine just to look at.
The camshaft, not only did Aerojet have these, but Homelight made outboard motors out of these. They stood them up on end. They had a camshaft that had a lot larger base circle. And so it can be cut down to make anything you want. And so this is a Schneider cam that was cut for this type of an engine. This is a performance street engine.
There can't be, these parts has got to be rare. It can be, I mean,
No,
they're not.
They made way more engines.
Then they did Crosleys,
Oh yeah, these engines were used
where they was used for.
both in marine applications
Okay.
and inboards and outboards. They stood them up on end and had a long crankshaft snout on them instead of where the front of the engine is that drove the gearbox on the outboard motor, and then the oil pump was down there.
Huh. Wow.
But it was the same engine.
Now, what's your plans for that engine? Is it?
It's going in the red car.
Okay, it's going in the red
And
Sport.
then this is the adapter plate for instead of the front half of the bell housing for a stock Crosley transmission, which you just drove one of them. That's not a performance transmission. So this is for a Datsun transmission.
Oh,
Old
okay.
Datsun 210s. And then the flywheel is a Crosley flywheel. I'll get some light.
Thanks, Bill.
I can remember which way. The Crosley flywheel, but it's cut down because the Crosley flywheel wouldn't fit in the bell housing. So took a few teeth out of the ring gear and then had to bevel them the opposite direction. But took a few teeth out of the ring gear
I see it.
and then drilled it. And a lot of this had to be done in a machine shop, but some of it I did myself. But drilled it and then pinned it. The pins are all at a different spacing, so it all works only one way. And then it was off to the balance shop with all of it, and actually the flywheel was off a little bit from the reduction in diameter. Obviously, this is the factory drill marks here, and there was quite a bit taken off of this side. So this side probably had more dense iron in it than this side. It weighed more, or just was shifted a little bit, but reducing the diameter, it had to have just a few grams taken off of this side to get it back into balance. And so it worked out, and then the clutch ended up centered well enough that it was in balance with the clutch on it too.
What got you? I mean, what got you? I mean, I know people that like but you're really interested where you went the extra. I mean, I can understand Mustangs because of horsepower, and I like Crosleys. But I always ask somebody why that particular.
It's the same challenge.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
I took the
because you like know so much more than the average Crosley guy even.
Well, I took the black car in and basically doubled the power.
Yeah.
And this won't quite be double, but it'll be close to double. These were a lot more than 12 horsepower.
Well,
they were 26 to 28 horsepower.
I liked it. That's what my whole saying about keep being you. You know, I like the world be boring if we was all the same. That's why I like that you got the passion. I think anyone's interested if you showed passion in a broomstick and you was enthused about it. People would like, you know, that's just people like seeing people enthused, you know, with their passion.
This is a plate that bolts in, and there's if you can see down in there in the ports, you'll have to see if you can get.
Okay.
Can you see down in there?
A little bit back over this way with me at the light, toward me. I meant toward me over this way. Okay, now I can. I see. Oh yeah.
You see where that actually goes in there, and it's just like a T, like a plumbing pipe.
I see that. I'm not.
And now it's got a divider in there that semi-divides the ports so that they aren't sitting there right side by side. When you put a performance cam in, when the more you'll have the hotter the cam, the more you'll see at the drag strip with super big carburetors, you'll see the fuel standoff up above the carburetor. There's a reversion pulse that happens there. Well, that cheats one cylinder out of fuel in what's called a Siamese port, where two ports are fed by one. So that little bit of a divider down there should help. Other guys have done that when they've hopped up old engines that had Siamese ports. Model A's or that's one good example of that it's been done in Model A's where you semi-divide the port. Unfortunately, there's no meat to grind on a Crosley port in the places that you need to. I've seen Crosley engines sliced to see how thick things are, and it's the places that you need to cut on, you can't cut. So the only thing you can do is improve it, but it's actually too large of a port. It's trying to do two things, and it's got had a lousy corner down there. So hopefully I've improved that corner. That won't really make more power, it'll just make it more drivable.
I know, just by, you know, from the time before and now you let me drive that one and this, here I was never I would actually like to have my own little Crosley to tinker with. You got me really interested in, well, it's such a cool, you know, there's guys my age that gets into mini bikes and go-karts. Well, that's just a little bit bigger, you know. They're making more horsepower than I would be. I mean, a stock one.
This is the starter motor from one of the outboard motors. And then this is a starter nose that was made. There's a guy out the road here has a lovely machine shop. He does nice work. And then I hand finished it. But he did the machine work, and this is for the Datsun transmission, but with the Crosley starter. And but that's one of the first mini starters there ever was.
Wow.
This is
and would that be on the pre-war or the after?
No, this was on the outboard motors.
Oh, okay. It didn't come with the Crosley.
There are a lot of guys that have made adapters for them to be bolted onto a regular Crosley location, but this is one that was made just to use for this Datsun, just this plate. And then it's held on by these bolts that go all the way through that hold the motor together. And yeah, those two nuts are actually what held the motor together. Instead, now it's threaded into those two holes. I know you like old stuff.
I was looking at that. I was going to ask you what I love. What down at your place? You've got so many